Hey guys, it is Raymond. You're watching the BeeRPad, a brand new show that Marcus Beer and I just started. I am your host. Marcus will be along shortly. We got something very cool for you today. And whoop. We have some technical difficulties, so I will be hanging out by myself for a while. But today we're going to be talking about a few things. Marcus is going to try to convince me to watch the Peripheral, which is a show on Amazon Prime starring Chloe Grace Moretz. And I'm going to try to convince Marcus to finish watching The Rings of Power, Lord of the Ring, The Rings of Power, also on Amazon Prime, and House of the Dragon on HBO Max. So he liked those shows, but then he got bored towards the middle and something happened. I see if you're watching live, ask me some questions on Facebook until Marcus gets here because I feel silly and exposed all alone. If necessary, I might have to bust out the guitar and start playing some songs, or I can tell you that one joke that I know. Oops. Okay. How are you guys today? Let me know. Leave a comment. And let me know what you did over the weekend. You do anything new or exciting? On my other show, BeeRPad TV 3000, I had a first in a 4-part series of Guitar Heroes specials. I was talking to Christopher Mayer of Hellbent Games, and he told me about his background as a guitar player and a guitar enthusiast. Building his own guitar, all kinds of neat stuff. Really excellent guy. Hellbent Games is a hell of a company. They have a new game out called VHS, which is perfect for the Halloween season. Hey, it's my brother. Are you going to watch the movie Raymond and Ray on Apple TV? I am. I keep seeing ads for that. If you are into jazz, you should check out my brother's music, Reggie Padilla. He is a wonderful saxophone player. And, you know, he's my brother. So, of course, I love him and support everything that he does. And hopefully he plays with an awesome artist named Mike Love. So you should check him out as well. Aha! And here's my brother's website, reggiepadilla.com. He has awesome music, a few albums out, a series of etudes. So please, when you have a moment, check out reggiepadilla.com. This isn't part of this show, but if you want to follow me on social media, here is all my stuff here. I am pretty much BeeRPad TV on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram. Facebook, I'm BeeRPad TV official, and YouTube, I am BeeRPad Video. But today is all about the BeeRPad. Thanks to a Twitter poll, we have a new name for the show that Marcus and I are doing. It is called the BeeRPad. If you don't get it, he's Marcus Beer. I am BeeRPad, so it's kind of like mushing our names together. Marcus wanted Beer. BeeRPad TV BeeRPad and Beer, but he's my senior, so I wanted to give him top billing. That was actually important to me. And, you know, I think it is the nice, courteous thing to do. We have to respect our elders. Reggie, where are you today? I saw that are you on Maui or Kauai, another island? Oh yeah, this is my first show using the new continuity camera on Mac OS. So I'm actually using an iPhone 13 Pro Max as my webcam, which is nice. I used to use my Panasonic G85 as my webcam, which you can get some really cool results with, but it was kind of a pain because you had to have it set up a certain way, and I stopped taking pictures. So I would have that up there. And we are joined by inimitable Marcus Beer.
I am so sorry. I had a total brain fart. I thought it was 2 p.m., but as you rightly reminded me, I said we needed to change it to 1 p.m. so that our Euro friends could join us. But of course, I was sitting in the bath reading a book.
That is an incredible jacket.
Well, thank you. This is one of my Halloween outfits.
Wow.
Not
Did you
my
have that
Halloween
made?
outfit. But, sorry?
Did you have that made for you?
No, God, it was like
Really?
$60 in Target about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It's got matching pants and everything, but I'm not going to show you those because I'm not wearing them.
Okay. I too
Yes.
am my boxer. No, I'm just kidding.
So yes, I just literally threw this on, and here I am. And my apologies. And yeah,
I did a very mediocre job of occupying time.
I'm sure you had everybody riveted for the 6 minutes. And now I've got to do some housekeeping. Obviously, I've got to tweet out whatever you've just tweeted out.
Yeah, this is our first stream on Twitter.
Yes, and maybe our last, as we all switch to Blue Sky, which is the new Jack Dorsey thing, isn't it?
It is. It's getting pretty nasty out there in Twitter land. But,
it's fucking repulsive. Today was my 14th Twitterversary. And they obviously want you to tweet out that you've been on here for X amount of years. And I actually did say, like, yeah, I remember when I joined it, this wasn't a right-wing cesspit full of maggots and other assholes, and didn't have the horrible sewer musk permeating it. So, yeah, Elon can go fuck himself. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, he loves free speech, so I'm using his platform to call him a little white supremacist with a tiny dick.
I mean, firing the guy in charge of moderation on day one was probably not the smartest move. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look. I mean, Elon Musk is just another example of what happens when you have generational wealth handed down to you, and then you use that to steal other people's ideas.
So, do you remember that situation with the submarine guy?
The guy who Elon Musk called a pedo.
Yes, he called him pedo guy. So I've tweeted Elon a few times calling him apartheid guy because his parents were very much allegedly down with.
No, there's no allegedly about it. His parents were, profiteers in the apartheid era.
And emeralds, is that right?
Yeah, which bloodstones basically, which made them also racists. And it's good to see that little Elon isn't far from, he profiteers from other people's ideas. The guy hasn't had a decent idea of his own ever. And so he's a little right-wing maggot fuckboy. So there you go. And so is anybody who defends him. In fact, if you are an Elon Musk defender or a libertarian or a maggot or anything like that, you don't get to watch this. Go fuck yourselves.
Bye-bye. No. Let's move on to something positive, or what I'm hoping is something positive. You went to a Danny Elfman show yesterday. Is that right?
No, I didn't. I ended up not going. The wife went and took some friends. I wasn't feeling very good on Friday night, Friday in general. It's just the ups and downs of medication. They have effects and side effects, and sometimes it's just difficult to function, to be honest with you. Just to put it out there that if you are suffering from some, whether you have a heart condition or whether you have, stage 4 cancer, of which, ding, 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 I have both. Couldn't win the fucking lottery last night, but don't worry, shitty medical lottery, I'm number one. But at least I haven't had COVID, touch wood. Yeah, it's tough. Sometimes these things, they're not meant to be, working together at times, and they go, oh, you know what? Let's just drag that, that brain chemistry into the sewer. And Friday was a rough day for me. I mean, Thursday and Friday, I just felt overwhelmed. There was a lot going on. And, these sort of things aren't spoken about because, we got to be big, tough guys, and we can't really talk about X, Y, and Z. So, that's where I was. I was in a very, very depressed spot. My wife understood, and she went and took some friends who all had a great time. And I just, I stayed home with the dog. and I watched about 5 hours of The Big Bang Theory while eating chocolate. And you know what? That was a happy spot for me. That was the perfect bit of therapy. I mean, I happen to love that show anyway. I've just finished reading the book. That's the oral history of the show. I know a lot of TV people, who are snobs about in our industry, in games, entertainment, and pop culture, go, "Oh, Big Bang Theory is so demeaning. It's so stupid. It's so basic." I'm like, you know what? It's fucking funny. It's well acted. You don't have to like it. Just don't rip on it. If you don't watch it, fuck off. That's fine. Go watch something else. I don't have a problem with somebody watching somebody else, but don't come at me and say The Big Bang Theory is a pile of shit while you're watching, say, for example, Boo a Medea Halloween, because you have a problem. So yes, that actually it did the job. I felt a little better yesterday until I watched Liverpool play.
Oh,
and that put me back in a real shithole. So yesterday afternoon, actually, I tracked down. There's a book called Day of the Triffids.
yeah.
By John Wyndham, and it was released in 1951. So that that book is like 70 years old, and it's a really great sci-fi book, end of the world type thing. And it's been remade a few times, but it was remade last, I think, in 2009 by the BBC, and it had Jolie Richardson, Vanessa Redgrave.
Wow.
Oh shit! The guy who was going to be Wolverine before, but he had to drop out because he was Mission Impossible.
Oh, Dougray Scott.
Dougray Scott, yeah, and several other people, and I just watched all 3 hours of that because I tracked that down. And it just made me feel better. I mean, there's a lot to be said for escapist TV, and so that's why I didn't go to that concert, and it's why I'm also not going to an event tonight. I just don't really. I'm not in a mood. I'm happy to be here behind a camera, but going out and talking to other people is just a little bit beyond me.
I feel you. So, Day of the Triffids, was there a 70s or 80s movie?
There was an early 80s version from the BBC again. That was like a staple growing up. I mean, the book. I'm a fan of the book. The book is, each version is sort of like different of the TV show has sort of like meandered slightly from the book, but the book itself is really good. And the version I watched last night was actually quite clever. It's brought in the climate change thing, and this was made 13 years ago. Brought in climate change, global warming, fuel crisis, etc., etc. And so, yeah, if you haven't read it, I recommend good people go find it on Amazon or Goodreads or something else, or your local bookstore. Go in and ask for a physical copy of Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. He really was an excellent sci-fi writer.
I did have a VHS tape of it. One of my favorite uncles growing up, who's no longer with us, sadly, he gave it to me as a gift. And I remember thinking the box art was just so cool, but also it kind of scared me at that age, of course.
What was the box art? Was it the two people being looked down on by the big? That was the cover of the book adaptation, or the book that was re-released at the same time of that as well. So that was a very seminal image. But yeah, Day of the Triffids, in fact, track it down. It's not hard to find.
Okay.
Day of the Triffids 2009. Anywhere where copyrighted material shouldn't be.
So let us move on to the task at hand. I have to convince you to watch 2 shows. You have to convince me to start one. So
yeah,
I will kick this off. I will make mine a little bit shorter. Why Marcus should finish watching The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Well, shall I tell you why I stopped watching The Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power first?
Absolutely should.
So fucking boring. One ring to bore them stupid.
How many episodes did you make it through?
Probably about 4, 5 maybe. Yeah, I just it's like, oh, we're getting on a ship. And now I'm jumping off the ship. And then I'm riding a horse in slow motion across a beach. And I've found this dude has found me and helped me you know, lead an army off to somewhere else because the orcs are coming. The orcs are digging underneath people's houses like Elon Musk, and his hyperloop thingy in Vegas. So Elon Musk is a troll. No, yeah, and it just started to drag. I mean, there's nothing. There is obviously there's one. The accents do tend to grate on me somewhat.
Oh yeah, you don't like the rolling R's like Galadriel.
I'm a hobbit. I'm Irish. I'm going to talk like this. Fiddle-dee-dee, where's me potatoes? I mean, it's the worst form of Irish. It's a real caricature, unfortunately, and that is bad. And then you've got, for some reason, every single dwarf in humanity has to sound Scottish. I'm a dwarf. I'm going to fucking dig shit up.
In my head, like Stevie McNichol is one of the dwarves.
No, Stevie Nicol.
Stevie Nicol, yes.
Stevie Nicol. There you go. Legend of a Liverpool player, now a commentator. So yeah, I just got bored with all that. And then, you look at the elves, and the other thing is for somebody like me who, you have this material by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is basically a total knockoff of Welsh mythology. The Git just went and ripped off a bunch of Welsh to create Elvish. Galadriel, how are you? I am good, Elrond. Oh, let's go to the pub and shag a sheep. I mean, let's face it. The guy wrote, a couple of good books, great, but he robbed his source material from the Mabinogion. So controversial take of the day. So yeah, and I'm over Swords and Sorcery anyway. They bought me stupid. So that's why I stopped watching that and the other one you have to convince me about, which is Game of Thrones, House of the Turd.
So one reason you should watch it is the visuals are just incredible. Some of these sets, they're kind of this is the most expensive TV show ever made per episode, and some of it is just really breathtaking. Like, I should not be watching this level of quality on TV, and it just kind of blows me away that they're spending so much on these set pieces, the costumes. Some of it just looks amazing. I don't know if you're into that aspect of movies, but if you are into visuals, it's stunning.
Well, I have watched 5 episodes. Yeah. And so I've seen how stunning it is, and I still stopped. So you're gonna have to get me on the story, mate. You're gonna have to get me to get back into that final couple of episodes. I've seen how the dazzling the special effects. I've seen how the costumes are amazing. Right. I've seen how my Amazon Prime subscription's been spaffed, and to be honest, I'd much rather have my Amazon Prime subscription spaffed on this than on Jeff Bezos's little blue penis that's going to take him to the moon. But still, you're going to have to convince me that the story picks up, because they just when I stopped watching, all the ships had set off. They had set off to go to Middle Earth or wherever, Molrond or Almond Joy or wherever the hell they were going.
The fight sequences towards the end, there's of course there's one big mega battle. That's pretty cool. They do some cool stunts, some awesome choreography. That is absolutely worth watching. Story-wise, I mean, it's Tolkien, so in the really basic sense, it's just about maintaining hope in overwhelming hopelessness. So in that sense, you could kind of leave it in the background, even if you're not paying full attention to it, because you know what's going to happen. And the pace, I mean, we've become accustomed to it because of the movies. I mean, if you look at Clerks 2, when Randall says it's 3 movies about a bunch of guys walking to a fucking volcano.
He's no wrong.
Even the trees walked in those movies. I mean, the pacing is deliberate, let's say.
Deliberately awful. I mean, the movies were just as bad. I mean, that's the thing. Tolkien, he could write, he basically writes travelogues. It's a fucking travelogue. I expect Richard Attenborough to pop up at some point, or is it David Attenborough? Whichever the Attenborough, the BBC wildlife expert is, and just talk about these hobbits in their natural environment. As you can see, they're having second breakfast.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean the pacing is because it's not attached to the films, and they purposely made that decision that they didn't want Peter Jackson involved, right. And yet they go ahead and fucking copy everything from the films. I mean, New Line should be suing them. New Line should be saying, you know what, you copied almost all our shit there, including the dead dull pacing.
Right, but I mean the books were even slower. I remember distinctly. I just read like 20 pages about his lunch.
Yeah. They were very slow writing. I mean, that's what George R.R. Martin and Tolkien have in common, as well as, the fact that George R.R. Martin decided he wanted to put 2 R's in his initials so we could have J.R.R. Tolkien and George R.R. Martin. I mean, he's obviously such a little fanboy. Yeah, so I have a problem. I mean, does the pace pick up? Let me ask you: does the pace pick up from those, those ships departing?
Yeah. The leading up to and during the big mega battle, it does pick up, but then it slows down after that again, and it becomes a setup for the next. I mean, the whole season really is set up for the rest of the series. You're seeing a guy that may or may not be Gandalf, a guy that may or may not, or a few guys that may or may not be Sauron. And that all clears up at the end of the last episode. So if you do have any intention of watching the rest of it, you should pick it up. There are a few things I did like. The relationship between Elrond and Durin, I thought was really well done. How do you say her name? The Welsh lady? Morfydd
Clark.
Morfydd Clark. I thought her performance was amazing.
Welsh Swedish again. I think we discussed this a couple of weeks ago. Welsh Swedish. I mean, sexy as fuck with amazing cheekbones and can build IKEA stuff. No problem at all. What do you want?
So she was just like, even post battle when she's covered in soot and blood and dirt, she just exuded power and confidence and strength. And I was really impressed by her performance. But also I did love the relationship between Elrond and Durin, because eventually elves and dwarves hate each other when we get to the Lord of the Rings times. So,
all right.
It does not sound like I can convince you to watch that one. So,
you know what? I think you have piqued my interest just enough to watch maybe an episode or two.
Aha!
And because this was always going to be the easiest sell.
Oh, wow.
Selling this one compared to the dragon shit that is the next show. And that's despite it having the only it's got some awesome actors in the next one, in the House of the Dragon, including Matt Smith as Daemon. I mean, let's face it. Oh, let's find out who's going to be a total arsehole this entire time. What should we call him? Daemon, because it sounds like demon. Aren't we clever writers? And Paddy Considine.
Yeah.
Again, an excellent actor. Obviously, is in The World's End and in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, he's an excellent actor. My biggest problem with this one, House of the Dragon, the fucking time jumps.
Okay.
You're getting into it. I got into it. I was watching it. I was getting a feel for the characters. I was wondering where things were going. And then we jump 6 months. And then we jump 6 years. Then we jump 10 years. And all the actors changed. And it just doesn't, especially when you're supposed to be playing with a prequel where you've got thousands of years before what we saw in Game of Thrones. You don't need to do all these time jumps. Let these characters have a season each and then bring in their older versions next time around. It just makes no fucking sense to me. And again, it's, it's typical George R. Martin-esque writing, where it's just dull as ditchwater. Oh, look, the king, he keeps on cutting himself on the throne. Is somebody poisoning the throne because all the cuts are turning septic, or is he getting leprosy, or what's going on? And oh, everybody's having babies and dying because, we have to have a male heir. And it's literally dragon grief porn for everybody. I mean, and let's face it, the fan base for this show are like, oh, I would love to have lived in Westeros. I would love to have done it. It's like, you'd have died of fucking dysentery the first day. There's no antibiotics. There's no fucking toothbrushes and toothpaste there. Your teeth would have fallen out. You would have caught some nasty disease from the whores, male and female. And it's just, I think I'm just sick of swords and sorcery.
Okay. So the time jumps, I mean, I believe they only have 5 seasons, which if they go by the books that it's based on is not enough time to get everything done. Because eventually it becomes a civil war in the Targaryen family. And I'm familiar with those books, so there is a lot of content they need to go over. So I don't think the time jumps could have been helped if they only have 5 seasons.
But why? Why bother? Why bother with a Game of Thrones prequel? I mean, what is it about prequels? Because prequels, you don't really... I mean, yes, I suppose it fills in the gaps in your head. But if you've read the books, you know it all anyway. And if you're interested enough to want to know about what came before, you'll go and read the books. But what is it that made them think that this was such a fucking idea? And look, don't get me wrong. Between Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, it's keeping the British acting community in jobs. Jobs that are were sorely missed after the Harry Potter franchise went and the WB screwed up Dumbledore and Fantastic Beasts, etc., etc. But it's like watching the Phantom Menace. It's like watching those scenes in the Galactic Senate in the Phantom Menace. And look, again, they've got baller actors. They got Rhys Ifans, one of the greatest and most underrated Welsh actors ever, in my opinion. Spike from Notting Hill. A guy who I would love to have seen as Doctor Who at some point. But, there's so many great actors in there. And the sets are great and everything. But it's just so slow and boring.
So here's a hook that may be bullshit and may or may not work for you, but the way Martin explains it, the books that he wrote of the War of the House of the Dragons, the Dance of the Dragons, it's written in the style of a textbook. So it's a maester reporting what happened. And Martin says the show is what actually happened. So there are going to be some distinct choices made. There won't be, different sides of a situation. So,
wow, he knows how to sell it. I wrote it as a textbook.
No, he literally. Wow. It's really weird to read because I'm like, when I was reading, I'm like, who the fuck writes this? Like, was this fun for you? Like, it was very weird.
Yeah. Survey says on that one. Sorry,
not buying it.
I'm gonna. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a half a win.
Wait.
I'm gonna go back. I'm going to watch a couple of episodes of Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power. I'll get to the battle. If I can sit through the battle, I'll finish it. I'm not going back to.
Okay, but I will try to give you a few more reasons, and it's all based on performances. There is one episode where Patty absolutely crushes the entire episode, and I think it's the best acting in the series. There's another episode, the one after that, where Olivia Cook, who plays the older Alicent, where she absolutely crushes. And if it wasn't for Patty, she would have been the MVP of the series. Matt Smith is great throughout. Eve Best had a few really good moments towards the end. So the acting, I think, becomes pretty impressive in the last.
I don't have a problem with the acting. I really don't. I think the acting's. I mean, they have all these fine actors. They have really excellent actors.
But they take it to
actors, female actors, whatever you want to call it.
The last 3 episodes, though, I think everyone like steps up, takes it to another level, and at the very least, I think the last 3 episodes are worth watching.
Nah.
No, not happening.
No, sorry, dude.
Fair enough. So let us. Do you want to move on to the Peripheral then?
Yes, let's talk about the Peripheral. So Peripheral on Amazon Prime just dropped. Chloe Grace Moretz is in it. And it's set slightly in the future. I think maybe almost a decade in the future, almost 2029 maybe. And it's about this girl who is exceptionally good at the video games. So obviously, oh
wow,
well, I'm into this. This is cool. And obviously, the days of the controller are gone in a decade's time. We are looking at VR headsets that almost just look like a pair of glasses. You pop them on, and you have this tiny little pad thing that's just, moves you around. And she's like the super awesome one. She'll get you through Call of Duty 96, and her services are very much in demand. She helps players get through levels, and they pay her, or in fact, they actually pay her brother because she plays with her brother's avatar, because he is the one who, they don't want to pay a girl to do it. Her brother, former Marine, injured in action, and this is all set. This is all set in the South. And, it just goes to show that, he has meds that he needs. He can't get meds because he doesn't have the money, which is why he does the gaming thing. And he gets, because of his sister's skill using his avatar, he gets asked to beta test this new Peripheral. See, name of the title. Right there. Very clever. Which is basically the ultimate VR headset. It's like you don't need haptics, you don't need anything. You put it on, and it's just not even glasses. It just taps into your mind, gives you all the sensations. And so he's not good enough, skillful enough to give this a full beta test. So he says to his sister, "Look, we will do this. If you do this, we've got enough money to get mom's medication because mom has a brain tumor, and she is dying. She's in bed, paraplegic, blind because of this brain tumor."
Question: How far in the future is this set?
I think it's about a decade.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not that far. There's obviously a bunch of realism about it where people are stuck not being able to pay for medication and having to do whatever they can with regards to side hustles just to try and get medication, because that's the way it goes in this.
It's very American.
Yeah, bloody country. And so, Chloe Grace Moretz, who is a fine actress. I've always I thought she was brilliant in Kick-Ass.
Yes, absolutely.
She kind of stole that film. She really embodied that character so well. She goes and she does this beta test. Now, this beta test is not all that it seems. And this is the thing. I don't want to spoil this because the big difference is you haven't seen any of this. Third episode just dropped this weekend. So you have 3 episodes, all of them about just over an hour. So it's like 3.5 hours in total, all told. The show flies by. There's twists, there's turns, there's temporal shenanigans, there's VR shenanigans. It takes place in London. It takes place in the Midwest. A lot of it is how you'd want to see gaming going. The days where, like I said, we move away from a console, as it looks like we're doing with, Xbox and cloud gaming being more on a TV screen. But this is a case of, you're in a haptic chair, or you're in a relaxing chair and you have this on and blah, blah, blah. It's basically everything the metaverse wants to be, but everything it isn't, because obviously the metaverse looks like a badly coded video game, to steal Phil Spencer's critique of it. but there's a lot of action. There's a lot of intrigue. It's very good at drip feeding you and just keeping you just with just enough information so you know what's coming next. You can make your own guesses and so on as we want to do. But the characters are all top notch. There's a variety of them. There's not one caricature in it. The guys that you think, the guy that you think is a loser from at the beginning isn't. There are some real evil bastards, and their shit gets called out, and it's got a little bit of Roadhouse in it, the classic Swayze movie.
Really? Okay.
Just in one of the characters in his henchmen is that sort of bad guy, as in Roadhouse. It's like a small town guy who owns a bar is a dick. But it's very well acted across the board. Very well written so far. Some nice twists and turns.
Any notable supporting actors?
Actually, no.
Okay.
It's not one where there's a huge swath of actors that you'd expect to see. I think Chloe Grace Moretz is the biggest actress there. But I don't think the show is any worse for it. I mean, it's a good ensemble show in a lot of ways, in that it doesn't need a bunch of star power, because a lot of times that can get in the way of the story.
Yeah.
For example, House of the Dragons, it took 3 episodes for me to even try and remove the fact that Doctor Who was showing me his bum. So, and you're watching Paddy Considine as the king, and you expect Nick Frost and Simon Pegg to come barging in and say, "Come on, we're going to the pub." So yeah, sometimes the big name stars can get in the way, or even the middle size stars can get in the way. So yeah, there's some good action. It's very enjoyable. It's cyberpunky, very cyberpunky, which also ticks boxes for me because I'm a big fan of that. And I thoroughly recommend it. I say that if you start watching it, I think you'll enjoy it more than perhaps your Lord of the Rings and your Game of Thrones.
Fair enough. Now, the way you're describing it, I'm sold. Absolutely. But it sounds like there's it almost kind of messes with you. There's like that aspect of it. Would you say that?
It throws you for a loop.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's some things that are in there that make you go, oh,
yeah.
But it's not too clever for its own good.
Yeah. Like,
it's not got that, oh, look at us, aren't we so smuggy buggy because we've done this and we've got you all thinking this is happening, and no, it's not.
That's my problem with the newest Matrix movie, is that it seemed like they're trying to show off how clever they are,
Yeah. I watched that the first time and I was like, it's not so bad. Then I tried to watch it again and I fell asleep. And then I tried to watch it a third time and I fell asleep. And I love Keanu. Everybody loves Keanu.
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss and the entire cast is excellent. But yeah, this isn't that. This isn't that. This is a lot. I mean, even though it has some very wild and woolly moments, like wild as in shit, really. It's quite grounded in a lot of ways, and you can see that when you look at what's going on in one place and what's going on in another. All right, I can see that being 10 years from now, and I can, in the Midwest, and I can see that being London, X amount of time. This tech has evolved, so on, and so on. So, I thoroughly recommend the Peripheral.
Okay. So the vibe I'm getting from it, the way you're describing it, I'm almost getting kind of a Severance vibe from it.
Possibly. I didn't watch Severance all the way through. It's one of those ones I should go back and watch.
Absolutely. Finale. Incredible.
Yeah, it's one that I just the wife was more into it than me. That's because it's got Adam Scott in it, who is a fine actor. Adam Scott is a fine actor.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he has the most punchable face in the history of entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, he is an intelligent, probably a really nice guy. And I don't. Do we have this discussion? Have we gone through this? Where he's an excellent actor, but I mean, he ruined. It's like he pops up in The Good Place, right. And I just want to punch it. I mean, that character he plays in The Good Place, if you haven't seen that series, is how if you could look up an Adam Scott character in the dictionary, this is the character he played. And so every time I see him, there's him and Jason Schwartzman, fantastically talented individuals. But I want to hit them with a mallet. I don't know why. As some say, I have a very punchable face. My wife mostly, but sometimes you just have that problem with people.
Yeah, I see what you mean with Adam Scott. I absolutely see that. Schwartzman, not so much for me. He kind of reminds me of Fran from IGN back in the day. I don't know.
Do not besmirch the amazing Fran with Jason Schwartzman. Like I say, Schwartzman's a great actor, but Fran Mirabella is not Schwartzman-esque. He's way better.
I think they look the same.
Wow, that's racist.
I told him this too many times. So,
I'm sure he fucking loves you then.
Okay, so you sold me on The Peripheral. Absolutely down with that. Now,
and so next week you'll tell me how much you hated it and that you never trusted my opinion again.
I don't know. I've been a fan of Chloe since Kick-Ass as well, so I'm sure I will enjoy. Now let us move on to Ted Lasso. Season 3 is allegedly coming in December. I don't know if that was confirmed yet. Did anyone confirm that yet?
I've not seen it. I've not seen anything.
But I fully expect it to be December. So getting ready for that, let's talk about what we loved about the first 2 seasons of Ted Lasso. First off, did you remember those sketches that NBC Sports did and
he was on his way to manage Tottenham Hotspur?
Yes. And at the end, he went to Leicester.
Yeah, he was. I mean, they were funny as hell when NBC obviously acquired the Premier League rights, and to get these this character and to build out from that. I mean, I admit when it first started, I didn't hold up much hope. I thought it would be basically just slapstick all the way through, but. That show just knows how to give you, hit you in the feels.
Absolutely.
Talk about the right show at the right time when we were all in a lot of pain. A lot of us were terrified. A lot of us had lost people. That's the summer of the pandemic, the summer of 2020. For that show to come along and just be so hopeful.
Yeah.
Now, it could have gone so bad. It could have been schmaltzy. It could have been Hallmark, Americana, overboard, schmaltzy, with the evil Brits picking on the poor, simple American guy who then treats everybody. I mean, it could have been Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder. It really could. There's a movie you can't watch nowadays. And I initially thought it would be like that. But how everybody grew and everybody, just evolved and pivoted. The moments, what I loved about the first 2 seasons, there's so many. I mean, Nate's arc in the first season, Nate the Great, the Biscuits. The Dots match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was fantastic.
Roy Kent's arc. Phil Foden. Sorry, Jamie Tartt.
He's more Grealish than Foden.
Well, yeah, he does wear an Alice band, but he sounds like Phil Foden. He really does.
Keely.
I mean, Keely going from just, being this, you think she's the typical bubblehead,
right.
They call wags in the UK, wives and girlfriends.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're looking at Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy, Victoria Beckham. These that was the caricature. There are some like Victoria Beckham who are very smart and have gone on and built amazing business empires, and you say, hey, amazing,
respect.
But then you get these other wags who are just total bubbleheads and
right.
page 3 models or glamour models. And Keely, you thought that she would be that initially, and then she evolves out of all recognition to show that she is a smart woman, who is driven and deserves all the success she gets. And then, I mean, the biggest metamorphosis and the most pleasing one, because I know I talked about Nate's metamorphosis. Season 1, Nate the Great was great. Season 2 was tragic. I mean, tragic, Shakespearean in its tragedy. But when you see the abuse he's been through at home, you can understand why. But let's all give it up to Queen Hannah Waddingham.
Yeah.
Who I think has been the breakout star of Ted Lasso. I mean, she's gone from Game of Thrones, following Cersei and going shame, to, again, we thought, this is going to be a remake of Major League, where she wants to sell, she wants to run everything into the ground because of the ex-husband. And she does initially, she hires Ted for the wrong reasons. And the support and warmth she gets, not just from Ted, but from Keely in particular, that level of friendship makes her a better person. And then season 2, where, her little love triangle, where we all think that she's on banter with Ted,
right?
But she's not.
Right.
I mean, the throwaway stuff like the Ryan Reynolds line and the Ryan Reynolds and that he wants to buy the club. I think that they threw that in there at one point, didn't they?
No, they actually mentioned that he bought Wrexham, but they're like,
right.
I don't know if this is a joke or not.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I mean, the show has gone. Is basically, it's the three act structure, and it's done so well. I mean, obviously, we're waiting for the final act. That first act set us all up, got us all happy, craving more, and then they delivered second act 12 months later, where it's like, okay, this is getting deeper, and this is getting deeper, and this is a character study now, and we're in love with all these characters, but they are becoming more and more fleshed out. I mean, the Christmas episode,
wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it was a total extra, apparently, that Apple went back to them and said, we need a couple of extra episodes. The one where...
Beard After Dark, that one?
Yes, Coach Beard.
Yeah.
After Dark. That was surreal as hell, but so enjoyable.
Yeah.
After the... was it the FA Cup semi-final where they lost or whatever it was? And now we're coming, but it ends so darkly. I mean, it's pure Empire Strikes Back. And I love that the original trilogy has become the
that's a standard mirror.
Yes, the standard descriptor for a 3-act play, where you have, you build everybody up, and Act 1 is happy and fuzzy and gets you all comfortable, and you're like, oh, this is good. I'm telling the story, and then Act 2, builds on something, but it starts to make you uncomfortable before hitting you with that, gut punch at the end, and Nate going grayer and grayer. I mean, all that was missing was dun, 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 dun.
I have a problem with West Ham as the Empire in my head, just because of how I'm a newer football fan than you, so the way I said, they've always been kind of hapless to me.
I think they had to make it something that was potentially feasible for the guy to buy.
Yeah.
He couldn't afford Arsenal. He couldn't afford Spurs. He couldn't afford Chelsea. And West Ham last season and the season before
did well.
In particular, were going quite well. That they've had a little bit of a rough spot, but they're still doing. David Moyes has built a really good team there. So I think that was trying to stick within the bounds of reality. Because had it been a Crystal Palace or a Fulham, West Ham are always capable of throwing a spanner in the works.
Yeah. I mean, they have some really talented players, but maybe the depth isn't quite there. But that's more real life. So,
but I mean, that's why I think, again, that's how they got it just right with him buying a club like West Ham, which has been sort of like, just outside the top 6, higher echelon mid-table. That makes a lot more sense. And, that's a team very similar to Richmond, because Richmond, but they're Richmond's equivalent, but the step up. They're hovering below the top tier. Richmond are hovering just below them in the next tier, but at the top of it, much like Crystal Palace and whatever. So there's going to be, there's a little bit of difference. Yes, they do have, better quality players. And, it sets it up. I mean, we've all been guessing what's going on with regards to this third season. But what did you like? I mean, I covered off, I think, the entire 2 seasons, so I apologize for that.
So, no, you used the word hopeful, which I think is perfect. And it was just such a positive style of comedy. We've been used to things like The Office, where, it's fun to talk down and to razz each other. Whereas this was a very different kind of comedy, and not something I thought Jason Sudeikis was capable of. I always thought of him as that great at being that snarky character in a comedy. And the sketch version of Ted Lasso was much different than the show version. He was, angrier and meaner. And they almost made him like a kind of like Flanders from The Simpsons. He has a, very positive guy, has the mustache, just a really loving person. But I did love that eventually they showed that he's dealing with trauma. There is some darkness in him that he hasn't fully dealt with, and that he needs to.
The panic attacks after the end of everything.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite episodes was the Trent Krim episode, just showing you how kind he was, even to people that didn't take him seriously or people that wanted him to fail. He would show that kindness.
Yeah.
My favorite scene was when Rebecca confesses, and I don't know, it was just so powerful. The way it was written, the way it was directed, and the way it was performed. Just a really amazing scene with those two actors, and very, very heartfelt. And then you also had some of the goofier humor. I think Beard is such a great character.
Unfortunately, he's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, but
yeah.
And
I mean, look, he's a great Brendan Hunt, great actor, great writer, but he's still an Arsenal fan.
The way they deliver some of his lines, and they're just so, they seem like short throwaway lines, but they kill me. Like when Nate says, "Swonderful," like the Gershwins, and then Coach Beard's like, "Fuck yeah, the Gershwins," like it just seems like.
He almost strikes me as a version, a more evolved version of Phoebe from Friends.
Yeah,
who throws out these lines like, and if you watch Gavin and Stacey, the Nessa character, who says these things like, when I was working in Bollywood and directed 50 films a week, and I was doing this, or I was living, I was the mistress of a major politician, or I was on the road touring with the Rolling Stones and driving trucks, and you just like don't expect that sort of thing, because you don't know how old these people are. They seem kind of ageless, and they bring out these references that are just so left field, and they just work.
Yeah,
they just add more punch to the comedy.
What do we know about Beard? He was a chess champion, a lumberjack semifinalist champion, in addition to being an American football coach and now a proper football coach. So what was it that Ted said about him? Like that's a man that has served many masters, something like
that. That's actually a great way to. I don't know if he served many masters. I think he's mastered many things.
Yeah.
The fact that he is. Excuse me. He's Ted's sounding board for a lot of things. They obviously mesh very, very well.
Right.
But you take Coach Beard away, and Ted just topples. He is Coach Beard. Coach Beard is his leg and arm.
Yeah.
I mean, his equilibrium. And if that's not there, Ted flounders. Ted's not going to, I mean, wouldn't survive because they just work together very, very well, which is it's a great trope. I mean, he's the brains behind Ted, if you will, in a lot of ways.
Right. And you'll call Ted out, like when, how Ted was like, winning or losing doesn't matter. And then at the pub, he's like, damn it, it does matter. These are professionals. That was a good scene too.
Every scene at the pub was good.
Yeah. I love the guys at the pub. I thought they were hilarious.
Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up.
And I loved how like the large guy was like the sweetheart, the teddy bear of the bunch.
Yeah.
And May, the pub owner, like, just the up and down, the cast has been phenomenal. Even guys like Richard, the French player, when they're all giving up things they like, he's like, this sand is from a beach where I first slept with a supermodel. Colin with his Porsche, or is it a Ferrari that he has?
Yeah, Colin, yes. the one Welsh character, and he's a he's a.
Oh, we didn't talk about Danny Rojas. That was a nice injection for the show. Like, I wasn't expecting that character to be like that and as well received. But
yeah, Danny Rojas is he's a fantastic character, and the actor who plays him is obviously a wonderful human being as well, because he's the one who left me a very nice message when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, because he worked with one of my oldest friends. And my oldest friend reached out to him, my friend Andre, and he recorded this amazing video message, and he sent me some Ted Lasso swag. So I've got the hat, I've got the scarf, I've got the Believe sign somewhere, and a shirt that's way, way too small. I mean, it was too small for me in 2020 2021 when I was diagnosed, and now I probably couldn't even get it over my shoulders. I've blown up so much because of the meds. But yeah. They just seem like a tight bunch who have fun together. And who doesn't want to work in that environment?
Right. Absolutely.
Now, there's no egos.
What are you expecting going into season 3? I mean, they said they wrote it as a 3-part series. Obviously, Apple is pressuring them to do more, but it looks like they might be sticking to their guns.
I think they should. I think Ted Lasso's story with Richmond should be 3 acts, and he should depart on a high. But there are more than enough characters out there with stories you could tell. Coach Beard could, have his own story. Roy Kent, you could even just do a bunch of anthology stuff. What I'm expecting to be very sad at the end of it.
Really?
Go right back to season 1 and start watching all over again.
Oh, okay.
Just the sad because it's ended, not sad because of what happens. I've got a funny feeling I think it's going to end on a high.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to leave us, especially after the end of last season. I mean, if you look at the last 2 seasons, last season should have ended on a high, but it didn't because of Nate. The previous season, they were relegated. It was a downer.
Right.
I think we will hopefully see. They will. I think we'll see a build up of the animosity between that Nate has for Lasso and everybody else be fostered, and we'll probably see some sort of crunch mid season where the players come together. Whether it's a FA Cup tie or a league tie or whatever. And maybe they're both going to do a Leicester. They're both going to try and do a Leicester and win the whole pot, or maybe it comes down to a cup final at some point. And then we're hoping what we will see is Nate's redemption, Ted happy, everybody happy, and the bad guy getting his comeuppance.
Yeah. Rupert has to go down for sure, but
he has to go down in flames, and it just sucks for West Ham fans that their team is going to become synonymous with, that sort of evil empire.
right.
But
I mean, it has to end happily for Ted, but that could be so many things. But what would you like Ted's happy ending to be?
I think for him to be recognized as a winner, and it means he goes back to the US to coach the men's or women's soccer team, the national soccer team. He just gets acknowledged. He gets his head together. He is happy. We want Ted to be happy.
Yes.
And if he's with Rebecca, because everybody and their dog wants him to be with Rebecca.
On Reddit.
On Reddit, on Lasso Twitter. I mean, the fan art, the fan fiction. Everybody wants those two to get together. Roy and Keeley want that to keep on going, but I think that may fall by the wayside. So yeah, I mean, we just want a happy, satisfying ending. Just tie it up nicely. It's a fictional show. It doesn't have to end on another cliffhanger. It doesn't have to teach us. It doesn't have to be a teachable moment. It can be some quality, fun, entertainment that shows us good people can finish first.
Right.
Good people, you don't, especially as we head into these midterms, and see all the people who are just lying and just spouting bullshit to succeed, and they are going to succeed, unfortunately, despite being lying scum. Let's look at let's have a beacon, a little bit of happiness that comes out to say, you know what, it may be fiction, because this is the only way that nice people finish first, but in fiction, nice people can finish first. And that's what I'd like. Happy endings for all except Rupert, who discovers he's got prostate cancer.
Do you think he winds up back in America with his family? Does he settle in England and that becomes his happy place?
I don't know. I think he's going to get an offer to either coach an MLS or coach the men's national team.
Right.
Or the women's national team, which, he would also fit quite within his how the show has evolved.
On a corporate level, Apple signed a deal with MLS, so bringing Ted Lasso to the MLS that would be nice for Apple if they want more episodes. They could.
Yeah, I just don't think the MLS has the global appeal.
It absolutely does not, but it is a cleaner palette. It's a clearer canvas where you can do more creatively because it is not as well known and well loved as like the Premier League or La Liga or any of the major European leagues.
But I think the fact that they took this fish out of water and dropped the said fish into a behemoth that is the biggest league in the world was again part of the charm and part of the excitement and part of the shock that it actually worked. And then you throw in the stereotypes about Brits being rude towards Yanks and blah blah blah, and him not being a stereotypical American, and the Brits, not all of them being stereotypical Brits.
Right.
I think that was lightning in a bottle. I think if you take Ted Lasso and drop him into MLS for more content, for more more shows down the line, then I don't see how nobody gives a fuck. I mean, you would have to replicate the entire cast. There's a reason that cast is universally adored.
Right.
They work together. They play together. They see all the, they share all these pictures. They look like they're having a good time. And for that magic, they'd have to find, this is an MLS team that is, and this is only looking for, Ted Lasso continuing, which I don't think it will. I think Coach Lasso is done.
I hope it does.
But to be able to get all those characters together and not have it too saccharine, because we thought it would, it could have been saccharine in the first two seasons, but it hasn't been, because I think Ted's niceness balanced with that little bit of British snark.
Yeah.
Works. I don't think you can pull that off in the US, even if you put it in New Jersey or New York or LA, where everybody's so blasé about it. It just comes off as mean.
Yeah.
You'd have to flip the script where it would have to be Nate going to coach in the UK, in the US, maybe. But I just don't think you can. I don't think you can get that lightning in a bottle again.
For me, I think I would like to see him end up back in America to be closer to his son, to deal with the trauma his father left with him, because he went to England to run away, basically, to run away from his problems. So I would like to see him go back and finally deal with everything. That's my take, anyway.
Yeah, I think we will see. I mean, where did the December thing come from?
They were posting dates, and it I think it was like 9/12 or something. Like from they all have Twitter accounts, the characters.
Right.
I think it was Sam's Twitter that said 9/12. So people were thinking September 12th. I'm like, no, that's not how the rest of the world does their dates.
Yeah.
It would be, December 9th. So I actually don't even know if the date is exact, but that's the speculation on it. And I hope it's true, because that would be a wonderful Christmas gift for us all, for all Apple TV subscribers anyway.
And a great way for Apple to get more subscribers over the holiday season.
And sell more Apple TV units too.
Yeah.
Okay. that is a fair point.
I just went to type in Ted Lasso on Twitter, and I typed text Lasso, which is obviously his friend from the from the US, from the Midwest. Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm not seeing anything on any of the. Yeah. Oh well, I would love that. That would be great. I mean, them to drop a Christmas episode on Christmas Day, that would be fantastic. Because I mean, obviously, this one is going to be a full season. It's going to cover a full season, as the others have. So, and
it's planned properly this time. Like as we mentioned, the Beard episode and the Christmas episode were because Apple asked for 2 more episodes, and they were not prepared to do. They didn't have those written.
Yeah.
Proper story.
Are we looking at 8, 10, or 12 episodes?
I think it's 10, right?
Okay. That's 10 weeks.
Yeah, I'm down.
That takes us into February.
I am and they have a proper Premier League license this time, so we're going to get a little more authenticity.
Yeah.
They'll do with that. Will there be any cameos?
I'm sure there'll be cameos. Everybody wants to be in Ted Lasso now.
Yeah.
And I think this probably, again, shows that it's a good time to sign off at the end of it before it gets too crazy big and is more reliant on the cameos. Obviously, if you've been watching Welcome to Wrexham, you would have seen Ryan Reynolds hosting Jason Sudeikis at Wembley.
Right.
For the FA Trophy final. So yeah, that would be interesting if Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have cameos in there at some sort of owners meeting or something for the Premier League.
Some of the promo content they've done, they did a phone call between Ted and Jose Mourinho, which Mourinho is deceptively funny. He's
very dry.
Yeah.
He's drier than sandpaper.
So it makes when he does the zingers, they land harder because of his dryness. But
yeah. I to be honest with you, I've not seen any of the promo stuff. I've been keeping away from it. I want to go in as cold as possible.
Right. Oh, this is pretty old stuff. The Mourinho stuff, anyway.
But yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Season 3. Give us a season 3 in December. That would be great.
Absolutely. And do you still have? Are you still planning to do something for Movember?
I am. I'm just trying to figure out what with everything else that's going on. I wanted to do an AMA,
Yes,
but a video AMA, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. Whether I think it'd probably be on Twitter, unfortunately, because I hate Twitter now. So maybe the last thing I do. But I will. If it's not, it probably won't be this week. It'll probably actually be like November the 7th. Give me a chance to get more stuff together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna basically do an AMA where I'll do a video stream and everybody can ask me questions, and I just go through all the fun aspects of what to do, and what to expect if you develop something like prostate cancer.
Right.
Because there's a lot of stuff there that's unsaid, and people are shocked to learn, and men don't really know about because nobody wants to talk about it.
And I super appreciate you doing this, and hopefully it keeps us all better informed, because that's
just get the PSA test and get the finger in the bum. That's it.
Absolutely. Not your own finger, just to clarify.
Not your own finger, and not just any random finger. It has to be a proper doctor, and not like a doctor of bones or something, or those sort of doctors.
Yes.
Yeah. Just go to your GP, tell them that you want a PSA test, tell them that you want a prostate exam. If you are over the age of 40,
right,
do it.
Excellent. Well,
and if they say no, fight for it. And if they still say no, get a better fucking doctor. Because if I'd have had mine done at 45, I wouldn't be fighting for my life right now.
And this is so important, guys. Please get the proper test done. Women, get the proper test done for your particular body parts.
Well, also, have the there's a test you can have called BRCA, which is not it's not cheap, unfortunately, but it's a blood test that actually tracks you for all kinds of cancers. So if you have a history of cancer in the family, you should really look to try and get it done and see if your insurance will cover it, or if you live overseas and you can't, that you have a decent health service, you should try and get that done, because there is, there's prostate, breast, colon, pancreatic, lymphatic, thyroid cancer. I mean, and everything, just so many different versions of this vile disease.
How do you spell BRCA, that test? How do you spell that?
I'm not sure. Okay. I honestly am not sure. I've never written it down. I think it's called BRCA. I think it is. But I'll tweet that. I'll tweet out about that. Or I'll figure out in time for when I do the AMA. But just if you've got a history of cancer in the family, get tested and just be careful, because we fucked up our environment so much that the food chain is poisoned.
We're drinking plastic every day.
Yeah, we're drinking microplastics. Yeah. When they cremate me, it's going to take about 3 weeks to put the fire out. Yeah, so just look after yourselves. And it's tough, because when you're younger, you think you're invincible, and when you're older, you have so much else going on that you just don't have the time to do it, and then sometimes it's too late. But the prostate cancer is being detected in men younger and younger every year. Yeah. What was the 50s is the 40s and the late 30s now. Right. Colonoscopies are vital. I'm getting my second colonoscopy in January. That one's going to be fun, but it has to be done, because every 10 years. So I just say get tested, and if you have a great medical plan, take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
It's a literal pain in the ass for some of these things, but the peace of mind. Because if you have, your family wants you around, your friends want you around, your kids, your spouse, they all want you around. So do it for them, do it for yourself. Don't end up like me. I'm the cautionary tale. Yay me. I've finally been able to do good in my life.
We'll get you guys out of here on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is the BeeRPad, featuring Marcus Beer and me, Raymond Fidelia. And I will leave you with the immortal words of George Carlin. Take care of yourself, and then take care of somebody else.